And you'll notice for these questions with transformations, with graphs that we're going to move around and change, there's sort of two types. What we did on the colored papers were the types where you get an equation, you have to know what the graph originally looked at to graph it further. Then there's going to be some questions where they say, you don't have to know what the graph looks like, we'll give you a picture. Here's j of x. Looks like a w. We'll call this the w graph. And you have to move it 4 units to the left and 5 units down. Well, if I was doing that, I would probably choose this point, and this point. They seem like important places where things change. And I'll take those points. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And make the W graph. Now, the textbook ends at the top of the graph because it was computer generated. But the expectation is if a graph continues forever, that you will put arrowheads on the end of your graph. Grade 12 pre-calculus has 10 typical errors that they see on the exam, and they've labeled them E1 to E10. Forgetting arrowheads on graphs is an E9 error. Throughout the course of the year, as they come up, I will introduce different E errors to you. Some of you will collect them like crazy all years. Like, oh, the E2 one is, I give out so many E2s. But the idea is that every time you make an E error and I write it down, you're like, oh, you gotta stop making that. And hopefully by the time we get to the exam, you're sort of training yourself out of those small little mistakes. The E errors are generally sort of carelessness. Careless. E2? Remember when you were factoring an equation that was equal to 0? And you just decided not to write the equal 0 the next time? That's the E2 error. The E3 error is in trigonometry. If you decide, I don't like writing theta, I'll just not write it. You are getting E3s? Or if the question has theta and you like x better and just decide to change it, that's an E3 error. E1 error is super hard to make. That's like you do all of the work and just decide not to write the final answer. You're really close. You're like equals 10 minus 7. I don't want to write 3. I'll just leave it as 10 minus 7. Have to take off an E1 error because you didn't write your final answer down. So that can happen. All right. So moved our graph. I'm going to reread the question because, oh, I didn't finish it. Again, it has this language where it says, write the equation in terms of the function j. So I need an equation, which means I need an equal sign. I'm using blue, so I'm going to stay blue. I need something on either side. So I'm going to y equals, I need the j on the right-hand side. It's moved 4 to the left. That has to be inside the function. X is our liar, so that would be x plus 4. It's moved 5 down, that's outside of the function, minus 5. Now in this question, it says state the domain and range of each function. So here is where like a tiny word can really change something. Notice in the first question, it said each function, but I made an assumption that each function was like do A and make sure you do B as well. But in this one, there's no A and B. So when it says each function, I guess it means the new graph and the original graph as well. So I'm going to do my domain. The x values are everything. Arrowheads, so you can either write it like this, or like that. That would be all x values. The range, the y values, we have a smallest value of -5. So I could either write it like this, and I'll do the original one as well. I just reread the question again, double checking that each sentence I did everything it was asking for. I now feel confident to move on, and I can give you the questions to circle. Questions to circle after this one are 8, 9, and 10.